Nick Caserio had some quotes yesterday. Now, when he met with reporters last week while explaining the very careful and deliberate decision that was made to move on from David Culley, it took him 4 days to carefully discuss and evaluate the first season of David Culley before they decided they have serious philosophical differences and had to move on, of course. Didn't say much last week about Deshaun Watson. He was on Sports Radio 610, the flagship station of the Houston Texans, on Tuesday. Here is Caserio when the question came up about the possibility of Watson staying, given the possibility that Brian Flores is going to be the head coach. There's been some talk about that.
Yeah,
hey,
right.
Flores, Watson, maybe if Flores is the coach, maybe Watson stays. Here's Caserio on that possibility.
I think, there's been some commentary and, that more than likely would not be the case. But I think, to your point, again, like you mentioned, I think we just have to be open-minded and just take the information and process it and ultimately make the decision, that we feel makes the most sense for everybody involved, whatever that looks like.
It's funny, he does not want to say anything that paints him into a corner. There's been some commentary that would most likely not be the case. What's that? He's either coming back or he's not coming back. You're either keeping him or you're not. And they're in a mess this year. If they don't work this out, number one, Deshaun Watson has the ability to veto any trade with his no-trade clause. Not that you'd want to trade for a franchise quarterback who doesn't want to be with your team in the first place, but this is clear, bright line. All he has to say is no, and that deal doesn't happen. And secondly, if the Texans don't trade him, he's got a $35 million fully guaranteed salary for 2022. They've already paid him $10 million to not play football for an entire season. Now they're looking at $35 million if they can't figure out a trade. And I know that Nick Caserio is very insistent on doing things his way, wants to get his deal, waiting for the right deal, the right offer at the right time. There's a chance that he's already blown his window. There's a chance his window's not getting any better this year.
Right.
There's a chance that he's going to have to ultimately eat it on Deshaun Watson and take a lot less than what he could have gotten during the 2021 season. Because once the quarterback carousel starts to spin, once the potential destinations for Deshaun Watson get filled with other quarterbacks, and you're down to like one team that he would accept a trade to, you got a problem in Houston.
Yeah, no, you're right. Houston, we got a problem, no doubt about it. We talked about this a lot early in the regular season before the trade deadline. Again, yes, they're hoping everything works out to where they can maximize his trade value. But we discussed a lot how, hey, if things aren't, going smoothly, the civil lawsuit and all the court stuff's not going the right way, you could end up getting screwed over worse than you might have thought you were going to get screwed over last season before the trade deadline. I think that's certainly a huge risk with this situation, and I think a lot of it depends on what goes on in the legal process off the field. And I think at some point here, again, I think it's unlikely that Watson's back. I mean, would I give it a smidgen of a chance if Brian Flores ended up being the head coach? Maybe. But I think, again, if you're Deshaun Watson, how do you like anybody else in the organization at this point? I can't imagine him,
Chris,
Chris. Yeah.
But we never talk about it from the perspective of the Texans.
Right.
Cal McNair and Jack Easterby.
Right.
Do they want this guy around after all of these accusations?
Sure.
And even if the allegations aren't true, the stuff he's admitted to,
yes,
I could see Easterby based on his history, and I'm not making judgments here. I'm just saying
that's who he is.
Easterby's probably the kind of guy that's not going to want Deshaun Watson around.
He leads sermons and things like that. Right. You just wouldn't think that's his type of guy. 100%. I don't think we're not judging at all. I agree with you. I don't think it's Nick Caserio's type of guy. Being around him and the man he is, I would think that rubs him the wrong way as well. I would. So I hear you. You're right. Houston probably doesn't really want to deal with him or have him there anymore. I think they've had enough of the situation. We know Watson wants out, but they better, like to your point, hurry up and get some of these situation resolved, because once you get into, like you talked about, early March, late February, things start to become a little bit more clear about who's going to be available, what quarterbacks we might be able to get. If they wait too long, you're right, they might be left out in the dark or limited suitors, and that doesn't drive up the value, and that's certainly risky there from that standpoint.
And it may be too late by late February. We've seen these deals get done. Matthew Stafford last year for Jared Goff.
Right.
January 30.
Yeah.
Alex Smith, Remember, we had that long interview of Alex Smith the Tuesday of Super Bowl week in
right,
Minnesota.
right.
And that night he got traded from the Chiefs to Washington.
Guy, I think he knew it, too. That sandbagging
He knew exactly
SOB.
what was going on. We had 25 minutes with Alex Smith, and we had to trim it down to like 30 seconds because everything was hinging on his future, and it was all uncertain.
Yeah,
and,
right. He's
so
these
things
idiots
happen.
aren't going to use any of this.
These things happen. These things, it's time. As soon as we know where the coaches are going to be, that's when it pivots to where the quarterbacks are going to be. And with Watson, the last I checked, and I probably need to go back and check again, there was a belief that by the end of January, the criminal process would resolve, at least from a grand jury perspective. They were bracing for the possibility of misdemeanor charges, which, from Watson's perspective, could be handled a little more discreetly and easily than a felony charge. But then you still have the 22 civil lawsuits that have gone nowhere. There was reporting last week from, I think, the Daily Beast that one of the people who said no, and we reported back in December, I think it was, that 18 of the 22 women were ready to settle. 4 said no. The Daily Beast said that one of the women who said no was offered $100,000 and declined. So, it's the greater the urgency for Deshaun Watson to put this behind him. The lawyer Tony Busby understands he's got leverage. He's going to want more money. It's not about and I'm sorry, folks, this is the way it works. It's not about the harm that the client suffered.
Right.
It's about the harm you can do to Deshaun Watson's bank account to get him to make this go away.
Yeah.
Because as long as it hovers over him, it makes it harder for him to get to a new team.
100%. You're right. He knows, and Tony Busby's job is to get the most for his clients, to make them feel better about the situation where they feel like they were, done wrong and of course, treated the wrong way. But that to me is the silver bullet, or the big thing right there, is just the civil lawsuits. I have a hard time thinking they can maximize their trade value if some of these things maybe are unsettled to where now, oh wait, like again, if I'm an owner of a football team, and yes, I want Deshaun Watson and I want him to come and be the quarterback for my team in the face of my franchise, I don't know if I want to trade all these things away to have him, then to have it on our plate of, oh, wait, great, now you get to come to our town and you take over the conversation because you're controversial already at this point, but yet we're still going to be dragged through the mud because there's still ongoing civil lawsuit and conversation there, to where you're really going to have to take it on the chin of your organization, and some of this stuff is still going on while you've made that trade. And I think that's why we heard last year, like with Stephen Ross, he didn't want to get Deshaun Watson unless the civil lawsuits were done. And that's why, because they don't want to go, wait, we got you, and it's controversial enough, and now we're in the news every day because there's more news about the civil lawsuits and we're still dealing with that, and people can just keep slamming us more and more for trading a guy that doesn't look so good in the public eye. And that to me is the real risk the Texans are taking here.
And
hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.